YouTubers? Okay, so had court today on the bigamy issue. Now here's what it is. So there's a dissolution of marriage in Department C in Napa County between myself and a respondent. That respondent was married to somebody else, so they became a petitioner with the respondent in an adjacent matter, and so they sought to annul a marriage that they conspired together, as I was able to prove in court today. But ironically, that still didn't resonate with the commissioner, so I had to file an appeal and take it to a higher court. Because with bigamy, if both parties were proactive in it, there's statutes of limitation. That's 4 years, and this far exceeded the 4 years. And the people involved were actually out committing crimes in like 2009. So the petitioner in that matter alleged to have summoned the person that they were married to, and they were accusing that person of bigamy and acting to have no hand in it. But they had a confidential marriage. And a confidential marriage is essentially a private hidden marriage. Only those two people can access the marriage certificate. And this was done after they were arrested for narcotics and weapon sales in San Diego County. And that person was arrested in 2005 with his wife and co-defendant. And the person that accused him in bigamy of this and claiming to have no hand was his case manager when he was released from prison for that charge with his wife. So she would have known that he was married, but they came into court and tried to act like as if they didn't know. And then he tried to claim that she didn't know he was selling drugs, or that she had a problem with it, which is false, because she tried to claim the money through the Drug Enforcement Administration when they do a asset forfeiture. I was able to produce and present a communication between the two of them that shows that she was trying to claim the money, and she pled guilty. She pled guilty to the charge. She was given a deferred judgment, and you don't plead guilty and get a deferred judgment. They drop the charges after you complete. It's called PC 1000 here in California, but you have to plead guilty. So that means you did the crime. It's not that you were innocent of it. So proof is in the pudding. So here is, let me see. So you got Jessica Marie Lopez. You got a date of birth, 2020, 1984. So it's same person. Let me see here. What is, case number 100266698. That's the jail bookie. So this is San Diego County Sheriff's. The crimes are kind of hidden under here, but you can see controlled substances. There's weapons enhancement. There's, sales charges, narcotic sales and everything. So this took place on 4/2/2010, 10:51 p.m. Now, allegedly what happened was, okay, so I'm going to read this to you. A man, this is a newspaper article. You can look, Vista gang drug suspects called violent. That's from 2003. So this is when the husband, or the person that she claims committed bigamy against her, ironically, when I preferred action against her in this marriage for an annulment for bigamy. So he was arrested in 2003, it looks like, not 2005. And look at this. Let me see. Where'd it go? Oh, okay. There you go. There's let me see. There it is. That's his co-defendant, right? Then you got the person himself, and he was arrested with this young lady. Let me do the article from when he accidentally shot himself. So allegedly they were selling drugs, and she got a couple DUIs, so she quit her job at the halfway house. Here's the PC 1000. That's the case number, offense HS 11377, section A, PC 1000, Jessica Lopez, case docket number, Charlie, November 275021- whatever that number is, and a court date 6/14/10. Now the ironic thing is, this person is a case manager, not case manager, a social worker for child welfare services here in Napa. Now, as a result of her getting the DUIs and having to go do time and then get arrested with this guy for selling heroin and meth or whatever, the charges were meth, but supposedly They were selling heroin as well. That's what he was charged with before, for attempting to sell heroin and meth while he had children with him. This is Jessica Lopez. Jessica Lopez, booking number again, 09758377. This is Robert J. Kearney.
Please check your...
Let me see here. Sorry about that. So what this is allegation, vehicle code 23540, count 2, vehicle code 23578. So that's on the 273rd day. And what the significance of that is, I mean, she got a DUI less than a year before, right? So on the 273rd day, then she got another one. So that's an enhancement. And the second to that is when you have more alcohol in your system than the first one, that's an additional enhancement. So she had to plead guilty to a felony, and to the drug charges she pled to possession. And so the people who she had abandoned her son with to go commit these crimes, one of them was a social worker for child welfare services, right? So that person asked for guardianship and she was refusing to do it. That person was like, hey, your son has epilepsy. I need to get a medical treatment. And she selfishly said no. While she was out committing these crimes and the kid was like really needing her. But here we are, 2023, and I went to child welfare service. I went to Kaiser first. I went to child welfare services. And I was like, hey, can you get her some help? And when I went, I told them about this stuff. Like, hey, she has a history. I just want to get her some help. She needs some help. And instead, they stonewalled me. Napa County Child Welfare Services, they straight up stonewalled me. I submitted some proof, some evidence, pictures of her urinating on herself out in public, drunk, right in front of my son. And they just were like, oh, yeah, nothing to see here. And they were supposed to, I guess, roll it over to Sonoma County. And they didn't. They just stopped talking. No communication, no nothing. And eventually I talked to the ombudsman. And the ombudsman said, no, they were supposed to roll that over to another county. And then that county would then roll it back to Napa. Well, I found out about the rollback to Napa County after eventually it got to Sonoma County. But it only went to Sonoma County after I spoke to the ombudsman months later, and then reached out to the director who they told me I needed to speak to and said, hey, why didn't you guys do what you're supposed to do? And then all of a sudden she has somebody from Sonoma County call me in and the process moves forward. But me as a parent, exercising my 14th Amendment constitutionally protected right as a parent that's concerned, they're just like, oh, well, it seems like it's different when you're making a complaint about somebody that works for them, because at that point it feels like they're just going to buckle down and they got to protect their own image. But you see the evidence now, and what I'm going to be I'm dealing with this here in court right now. They came in and they tried to perjure themselves. The guy was trying to say that, oh, no, she had nothing to do with it and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, here's the thing. She pled guilty to the crime, and then she tried demanding the drug money. So the whole Babe in the Woods routine, that's a farce. You know, then you got the DUIs, and you got all the drug charges and the communication, and trying to ask the DEA for your drug money back doesn't sound like somebody who was not proactively involved in it. So that's where it stands right now. So today, despite having caught them in those lies and asking for them to be impeached, the judge stated, so if somebody commits bigamy, you have 4 years. Once you know about it, you have 4 years to exercise a grievance and annul it. That 4 years had passed. And when there's a void marriage or avoidable, when the two people work together in it or one person, then that marriage is voidable, and therefore it has to be undone by a by a judge. And so that means when she married me, then she still was married to this other person, but the judge allowed them to undo it, and that goes back and undoes that, and then impacts my case detrimentally because I'm asking for an annulment as the putative spouse. And so the judge granted their motion, and therefore wiping their crime that they did all these crimes, these federal crimes together, and they came into the court and perjured, and he still wiped out this last crime that they did together. Well, I wouldn't say last crime, because they came into his courtroom and they tried to lie. She said, oh, well, he tried to force me to marry him because I was pregnant. So I showed him a picture of me proposing to her, and she wasn't pregnant. I met her, and she was dating my friend, and then we found out not long thereafter that she was pregnant by him. And so I said, hey, I'll stay with you and help you raise the baby and everything. I love you that much. And she decided to, terminate the pregnancy. So she did that on her own, but I would have stayed with her either way. And so for her to now say I was trying to force her to marry me because I was pregnant, but I have a picture of me proposing to her and she wasn't pregnant. So it's showing that was already in front of the judge when she said that. It wasn't on the first day that she said it, but when we came back and she said it again, I was like, Your Honor, you have a picture right in front of you, and that's what this is. She's not being honest. They're committing perjury because you raise your hand, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and they just ain't doing it. But there seems to be no penalty of perjury in these courtrooms thus far that I've seen, because they lied in the other courtroom and then they lied in this courtroom, but to no avail, even if you prove it. So the only choice I really got is to file an appeal. So that's what I'll have to do, is try to take it to a higher court and see where it goes.